I would like to acknowledge and thank you, Dr. James, for your efforts advocating for our schools up in Albany. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. All right, good evening. My name is Pamela Verity, and I'll try and go through this very quickly. It's late. I am a parent of three children, a fourth grader in the special ed program at Sawmill, a high-achieving fifth grader at Bar, who was acknowledged here earlier this evening, and an eighth grader in the honors program at the middle school. You may remember me from the May 9th meeting, at which I questioned the cost of implementing the Common Core standards and assessment, financially, academically, and developmentally to our children, schools, and community. In response, Dr. James invited me to be a part of a focus group. I thought to address my concerns. At the first meeting, the chairperson and the district administrative president made it very clear that the group was not the place to voice my concerns. So I stand before you again, this time with other brave parents in the district who have many of the same concerns that I brought before you last month. We know Commack is an excellent school district, and we moved here so that our children would get one of the best educations offered on Long Island. However, with all the recent changes in education, my husband and I, as well as other parents in the district, are very worried for our children. We are now part of a large grassroots effort to remove Common Core state standards from our schools and restore the power to educate our children back to our local teachers and administrators, where it belongs. There are many aspects of the Common Core state standards initiative that worry us. The one we would like to focus on tonight is the high-stakes testing taking place in our schools. The New York State standardized testing has become excessive and extraordinarily harmful to students, teachers, and our schools in general. It has changed the culture and climate of our children's learning environment, and not for the better. For the first time, third graders were mandated to take the standardized test. Hours spent taking standardized tests have more than doubled this year with the introduction of the new standards. 6 days of math and ELA tests at 90 minutes per day, which does not include the 20 minutes of detailed instructions. Children in special ed are allotted even more time. For the first time, 2 separate assessments, the NEWAS, a computerized assessment, and a local assessment were administered to kindergarten children, first graders, and second graders, because the new teacher evaluations require them. Grades 3 through 8 were also given these assessments. That brings us up to a minimum of 12 hours of testing. Add to that the field test and the 4th grade standardized science test. 4th graders were required to do a minimum of 16 hours of mandated testing in a 6-week period. The district has tried to convince parents that the standards differ from state assessment. On the New York Department of Education website, Engage New York, anyone can clearly read that Common Core standards, curriculum, and assessments are a package deal. It clearly states that the assessment program is a key tool to drive improved teaching and learning, as well as evaluating our teachers and principal effectiveness. High-stakes tests in the stressful environment they create are already polluting our classrooms. Too much time is taken away from authentic teaching and learning to prepare for these tests. In my daughter's class, I was told there was no time for basic skills, like cursive writing, telling time, and counting money, because they had to teach to the tests. In my son's 5th grade class, they spent countless hours of doing practice tests for both math and ELA. Many educational experts feel that the standards these tests are assessing are developmentally inappropriate and are disruptive and detrimental to the learning process. Research has proven that standardized testing is unreliable for assessing children under 8, and that they often replace broader observational assessments that better serve young children's needs. The negative impacts of these tests far outweigh any benefits. Teachers are feeling the pressure of this as well since their evaluations depend on it. A teacher will only be as good as their students' test scores. The responsibility of evaluating their teachers should not in any way lay on the shoulders of young students, but on the administration. Yet students K through 8 had to take 2 assessments this month tied to those evaluations as mandated by the state. In the past, this has been accepted as an ineffective way to measure teacher performance. To us, it is unacceptable to put the stress on our children. High-stakes testing is also expensive. It is a tremendous financial burden which, in my opinion, has the potential to drain our district coffers. At the last meeting, I asked many questions about the cost of implementing the standards and the aligned assessment. I was unable to get any answers in the last month, so I stand before you again and ask you to help us find these answers. What are the direct and indirect costs of standardized testing, including buying educational software, textbooks, and other educational materials to help students do well? Costs for scoring the test, training to understand and utilize test scores, hardware and software to administer the benchmark NEWA test, time and staffing to develop local assessments. State-mandated academic intervention services have to be put in place for a larger percentage of students that they anticipate won't make the grades on this year's test. These numbers can't be found in the budget and will be very difficult to calculate according to our business office. The Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers standardized testing requirement is approaching in 2014-2015, which means it needs to be budgeted for this coming year, I believe. Testing will no longer be paper and pencil, but instead will be administered with new technology. How much will this cost us? Hardware, software, infrastructure, longitudinal data system to store the test data. What programs will be cut as we allocate our funds for the technology needed to meet this mandate? As our resources are directed towards these mandates, they are taken away from the arts, as all those students have clearly put, and other non-mandated elements of our curriculum which negatively impact our students' ability to be truly college-ready, or simply said, their ability to lead happy, healthy, and well-rounded lives. We are at a crucial point in public education. If we do not take a stand now, we may not have anything to stand for at all. Here is our request. Okay. Other school boards across Long Island and New York State have written resolutions on high-stakes testing. Among many on Long Island, they include our neighbors, Three Village, Deer Park, Rockville Center, Great Neck, Hewlett-Woodmere, and North Belmore. We ask that our Commack Board of Ed also stand up for our students and community in this way. We ask the school board to join with parents and stand up and say enough. A resolution against high-stakes testing would not put our funding in harm's way. It would not mean the teachers could not administer the tests. It would merely send a message to the state that districts, based on the needs of their students, should have the final say in how to measure achievement, which can include performance-based assessments, portfolio assessments, and other alternative assessments as well as testing. Our schools provide a differentiated curriculum to enhance each student's abilities and potentials. Why should we settle for a one-size-fits-all standardized testing program that sets many of our children up for failure? Commack is in the top 2% of high-achieving schools in the country. Why must we spend millions of dollars to implement standards and assessments that are not as good as the ones we already have in place? So we would like to thank you again for everything that all of you do on a voluntary basis on behalf of the community and our students. We admire your courage to stand up for what is right, and we look forward to your action in fighting the privatization and profiteering of our public schools. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Siskowski. I have a son in kindergarten in Indian Hollow, and I just wanted to add what she said. It's not just parents, it's not just Board of Ed, it is assemblymen who are writing bills. And I'm just going to read it for you. This was drafted, I believe, on Monday. Right, this is the copy literally 5 minutes before I walked out the door to come here. The purpose of the bill is to withdraw New York State from the Common Core and the Race to the Top programs. The justification to the bill is the Common Core program and the Race to the Top program are having a detrimental impact on our children, parents, teachers, administrators, and our school budgets. These programs have shifted the emphasis away from actual learning and instead have focused purely on testing and data collection. The mandates that are required in order to comply with these programs are causing a great amount of frustration and uncertainty in our educational institutions. These programs have reduced the instructional time allocated to our children's educational experience. The cost of implementation far exceeds the amounts received from these programs and have become a financial burden upon our schools. These one-size-fit-all programs have proven to be unsuccessful, detrimental, and ineffective, and therefore the state of New York should and must withdraw from these programs immediately.
Who introduced that?
I apologize. I did not say that. This was drafted by Assemblyman Graff. I believe he represents Holbrook.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Catherine Curtin, resident. I just have a question on the motion that was made. What is non-aligned and what positions would that encompass?
Non-aligned are any members not in a collective bargaining agreement, and it would include positions such as district office administrators, confidential secretaries, technicians, security guards, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the comments on the Common Core, I've had conversations with Senator Marcellino and Senator Flanagan, who also are, I don't want to say they're in agreement, I don't speak for them, but they certainly have been sympathetic. Senator Marcellino has been, he's the one who brokered the meeting in Albany with the Lieutenant Governor. It was supposed to be with the Governor, but I guess number 2 was pretty good. Especially when they made the comment that we need to adjust, we need to reflect, and we need to make changes. So I think they are beginning to hear that change needs to happen. There is, I don't want to speak for the board, but I will certainly speak, my guidance to the board is that high-stakes testing is detrimental to our children. It is inappropriate. There is too much of it. And in fact, the dictation of a curriculum, it is, as you said, beneath what we were already doing for our children. We sometimes, we teach our children to take lowers, to perform at a lower level on high-stakes testing because we almost, I don't know how else to say this, over-taught them. So they have to actually dumb down some of what they do to perform well on these assessments. My very own children have had to do that, and I think probably some of you have experienced something similar. And managing this now moving forward, we have not been sitting by idle. I certainly have seen samples of the resolutions that other boards have prepared. I'll bring some of those to the board's attention. It's the board's consideration, and then we'll move forward. I will be happy to at some point broker a meeting with a core group of parents, with Senator Marcellino, if that's something that you think would be effective, we can go from there.